The orchestrated takedown of Canada. Canadians really do need to wake up. I found this video last night and I found it very interesting and also disturbing, and I know you guys are going to want to see this. So this is from Tina Zimmerman, and it was reposted by Antonio Tweets, and I just it's about 10 minutes long, so bear with me. We'll pause it once in a while to give some commentary. I'm not sure if this is AI or if the dude is just someone I haven't heard of. But yeah, it's eye-opening, that's for sure. If your eyes haven't been open, get ready for a rude awakening. Now, before we do get into it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help grow the channel, and I appreciate you guys so much for that. So let's have a look, and then we'll talk about it.
If you told the average Canadian 10 years ago, within a decade, 2/3 of the country would be living paycheck to paycheck, forced to choose between heating their homes and buying groceries, they'd have laughed in your face. That skilled workers earning six-figure salaries would struggle to pay rent. That the healthcare system would all but collapse, with 24,000 Canadians dying waiting for surgeries or diagnostic tests in the past year. That massive tent cities with hordes of drug-addled homeless would spring up in every major city. But that's exactly what happened. While it might sound sensational, the past decade has been a total collapse of what was once considered one of the best countries in the world to live in. Between chronic economic mismanagement, the complete failure to integrate mass waves of low-scale immigration, and corporate cartels consolidating ever greater power, the average Canadian has had their status reduced to that of a medieval vassal, earning just enough to put bread on the table with nothing left over for the future. The Canada you grew up in is dead. Crushed by rising public and private debt, resource underutilization, non-functional healthcare and housing, and an ever-widening gap between a small elite and an increasingly impoverished population, the new Canada is rapidly becoming a third world backwater. So how did we get to this disastrous place? Where does this trajectory lead if the trend continues? And what, if anything, can still be done to salvage what remains? To illustrate the severity of the current situation, consider the following. Canadians are now one of the most indebted populations in the world. As of 2025, Canada's household debt-to-income ratio, which compares total household debt to its aggregate after-tax income, was 177%. Put simply, Canadians owe $1.77 for every dollar they earn. This is the third highest ratio in the world, meaning Canadians are spending an alarming portion of their income paying off credit cards, mortgages, and bank loans, leaving little to nothing for emergencies, savings, education, and other necessities. To put this in perspective, by late 2025, the Americans had a debt-to-income ratio of just 81%, less than half of Canadians. Even more troubling, this is a relatively recent phenomenon. Through the 1970s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, Canadian and American debt ratios closely mirrored one another. That all changed after the 2008 financial crisis. While the US underwent a violent market collapse with mass foreclosures, widespread bankruptcies, and enormous debt write-offs, Canada did not. While there was a brief downturn, housing prices quickly resumed their meteoric rise, with successive governments doubling down on housing as the engine for economic growth. In other words, Canada never went through the painful deleveraging the US did. We never learned the lessons of the mortgage crisis because we never had to.
And now people are going to have to, because, what you're seeing here, there's a housing price problem in the States too, according to them, but ours is 4 times worse. So they think their situation is bad. Ours is way worse, not to mention all the people who got their mortgages renewed, restructured in 2021 for 5 years. Well, if depending on when you got your mortgage done, the interest rates are going to change this year, and it's going to be drastic. I've even heard some people having to pay, I've heard people's mortgages are about to double. And they're barely hanging on, so what are they going to do? They're screwed. There's so many people who are about to just get a massive dose of reality. And if you think that voting in a banker is going to help fix this, you're wrong, because what Mark Carney's here to do is make things worse for us and better for him. a new world order, as he has said multiple times. That's what that is. It's not to make things better for us. The Great Reset was never there to make things better for us. They want everything. And they're going to give us the crumbs off the table, which are already pretty much there anyway. People like Mark Carney own 98% of the wealth. But guess what? They want it all. When they drive down a neighborhood with their security convoy, and they see people who own houses, they go, damn it, that should be mine. And I should be renting to these people at very high rates so that I can get even more rich and more powerful. That's how these people think. A lot of people say, well, he's rich enough already. Yes, he is very rich. But they don't stop at just being very rich. Now they want power and more wealth. And that's why people like Mark Carney are extremely dangerous.
And we're paying the price for that now. As of late 2025, having avoided 2 consecutive quarters of GDP contraction, Canada's economy is not technically in recession. Technically. It's important to note that federal leaders and their investor class cronies accomplished this through record levels of immigration, used to prop up housing demand and inflate aggregate economic output. This boosted the overall GDP, but came at the expense of the metric that really matters, GDP per capita. That ratio has dropped for 5 of the past 7 quarters, and now sits at 2.5% below pre-pandemic levels. And Canadians are feeling it. A recent H&R Block survey revealed a shocking 85% of Canadians say living paycheck to paycheck is now the norm, up from 60% just 1 year ago. And the reality on the ground reflects this. Walk through downtown Toronto or Vancouver and you'll see endless empty storefronts, lineups around the block for minimum wage McDonald's and Tim Hortons jobs, the usual smiling Remax agent ads on buses and trains, swapped out for payday loans, cash for gold, and debt restructuring services. According to a 2024 Food Banks Canada report, roughly 10 million Canadians, about 1/4 of the population, are now living in poverty, unable to afford essentials like heating their homes, internet access, adequate daily protein, new clothes, or dental care. For context, in 2024, Mexico's poverty rate was 29.6%, Brazil's was 23.1%, and Moldova's was 27.5%. All countries widely classified as third world or developing economies, if you prefer. Food bank usage further underscores this trend. It's more than doubled since 2019, with 33% of users being children.
Like, just look at the trajectory that we're on. What's going to be, what comes in another 5 years? 50% of people needing to use food banks? I mean, it's insane. And I know people say, well, there's a downtick in rent and there's a downtick in immigration. I don't want to hear about a downtick. We need drastic improvements. And after almost 15 months now, there hasn't been any improvements. The only thing that Mark Carney's done is stolen pierrepoilievre's idea. Oh, and I'm saying we're getting a one-time rebate in June, I guess, and most people won't even get it. Like, it's just, again, Canadians voted for pain, and they're going to get it.
19% employed Canadians and over 8% seniors. Unemployment paints a similar grisly picture. Canada's overall unemployment rate is fluctuating around 7%, placing it among the highest in the OECD. And that figure is generous. It counts part-time and gig work as employment, masking the true underemployment issue. But the real story here is youth unemployment, hovering at around 14%, a 15-year high. Much of this is the direct result of the massive expansion of the temporary foreign worker and international student programs, flooding the labor market with millions of low-skill workers and displacing the entry-level jobs normally filled by high school and college kids. But poverty, food banks, and unemployment aren't the cause of Canada's decline. They're merely the symptoms. At the core of Canada's economic stagnation is an uncomfortable fact. The country has regulated itself into paralysis. Investment doesn't flee countries because of a lack of resources. It flees because the rules make building anything impossible. Here are just a few of the major oil and gas projects cancelled over the past decade. Energy East, worth $15.7 billion, A proposed pipeline to transport crude oil from Alberta to New Brunswick, cancelled in 2017 due to regulatory delays and significant opposition in Quebec. Northern Gateway, worth $7.9 billion, an Enbridge project to move oil from Alberta to the BC coast. Its permits were revoked by the federal government in 2016 following concerns over spills and Indigenous rights. Tech Frontier Oil Sands, $20.6 billion. A massive bitumen mining project in northern Alberta, scrapped by Teck Resources in 2020, citing unresolved federal environmental policies. In total, the cumulative value of all scrapped resource projects since 2015 is an eye-watering $670 billion. Had these projects succeeded, conservative estimates suggest they would have added over $1 trillion to GDP, created 400,000 to 600,000 highly paying skilled jobs. And
I mean, doesn't this make you sick? All the money, all the jobs, all the prosperity gone. Why? Because some dude who likes to wear sparkly socks said, no, we can't do this. And for some reason, we allow Quebec to dictate pipeline. I know it's like, well, if it's going through Quebec, they get a say. All they want to do is disrupt. Enough. And again, you just have to wonder, when are Canadians going to wake the hell up? It says it right here. Canadians need to wake the hell up. Yeah, we certainly do. You just got to wonder when and if at this point.
Generated enough tax revenue to eliminate the federal deficit for much of the period. It's as if Canada is an energy superpower that wants to put itself out of business. You can either develop your energy resources to achieve widespread economic prosperity, or you could be a preening, preachy, moral do-gooder lecturing the world about climate change, carbon neutrality, and net zero. But you can't do both. Canada's web of provincial rules, standards, and permitting requirements is so complex that it functions like a system of internal trade barriers. According to the IMF, these barriers impose the equivalent of a 21% internal tariff on goods and services moving within the country. No other developing economy tolerates such an inefficient internal market. Further evidence that Canada's economic decline is no accident. It's the result of pure incompetence. Finally, perhaps the most troubling sign of Canada's new normal is the absolute explosion in homelessness. Just a few years ago, seeing tents pitched in parks or vacant lots was a rarity. Today, entire shanty towns seem to have popped up overnight. And with homelessness comes theft, assault, rampant drug use.
And by the way, do you notice that these tent cities pop up and the next thing you know they're gone? It's like, what's happening to those people? I've noticed that here in Hamilton a little bit. Now, I know sometimes they get kicked out and they just move somewhere else, but all of a sudden it's like there's tent cities and there's none, then there's tent cities. It's very strange.
Filth, disease, and despair, all of which spreads into the surrounding community. The official homeless population has doubled over the past 6 years, with nearly 60,000 experiencing homelessness on any given night. But that figure drastically understates the reality. These counts exclude the so-called hidden homeless, people sleeping in cars, motels, couch surfing, and the like. When included, this number jumps to roughly 300,000 people nationwide, a jarring figure. Canada's...
See how they trick you. Oh, it's not that bad. But it's like, yeah, of course people who are couch surfing, of course people who are living in motels temporarily, and people living in their cars, of course they're homeless. But they don't want to count that because they don't want you to know the dark reality of where this country is and where it's headed. When you add in context, look at the real number. It's disgusting.
Jarring figure. Canada's homeless population is projected to double again over the next 6 years to between 550 and 570,000 people. Roaming hordes of fentanyl-induced zombies will become permanent fixtures in Canadian cities. While not a problem limited to developing countries, the squalor, tent cities, crime, and open drug use are certainly reminiscent of dysfunctional third world nations, perfectly content with the progressive disintegration of Canadian society. Let's hope Canadians realize it didn't have to be this way, that the third worlding of Canada was entirely self-inflicted, and that the process can still be reversed, if only people wake the...
And not only was it happening and that you could see it happening. It's happening on purpose. And that's what a lot of people just really struggle with. They, I say things like this, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, these people aren't evil, they're just stupid. I'm like, no, they're not. You're going to tell me that the whole entire liberal caucus is filled with stupid people? I have a hard time buying it. They do stupid things and say stupid things once in a while, or a lot. More than you'd like. But you've got how many lawyers, how many university degrees, they're all stupid? So education doesn't mean that much then? Like, which one is it? Are they stupid, or is our educational system just garbage? Or I should say, are they smart and doing this on purpose, or are they so stupid that they're just handing out degrees? Is that what's happening? I don't believe that. I think that they're doing this all on purpose. The 98% of the world's wealth is owned by 2% of people on accident. All the homelessness, all the crime, all the immigration, the housing market, it's all on accident. Give me a break. You know how naive you'd have to be to think that? I don't know, man. I just, my stomach's turning right now. Just thinking about this stuff and thinking about the homelessness doubling over the next 6 years. We need to fix this now. And I can't believe, so many, oh, look at the Montreal Canadiens. That's your concern? If you're a Montreal Canadiens fan, I get it. You should be excited. But let's also pay attention to this, please. Because it's just going to get worse if we don't. We don't have time for things to get worse. They need to get better now.